This episode of the Citadel Cafe is brought to you by listeners like you. Visit patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe to find out how you can become a patron and help make this show possible. This is the Citadel Cafe, episode number 395 for Thursday, February 25th, 2021. My name is Joel Duggan, and the Citadel Cafe is where my friends and I hang out to talk about the geeky stuff that we are into. Joining me this week, Megan Townsend is back. You can find her at Megan Townsend on all the social media that matters, including Twitch at Megan Townsend. Imagine that. Hello.
Hi, it's been a while. February just feels like the black hole of months, and everything seems to just stretch on for eons.
And seeing as we broke the first new rule of small talk, we might as well break the second, which is an old rule, which is no weather. But it is unseasonably warm, like scary warm today in Nova Scotia. Like it's like 8 degrees outside. It's been raining all day.
Yeah.
There was a dip and it snowed for a bit, but now it's back to being like 7 or 8 degrees, which is just weird because we get end of March maybe, but not the end of February. Usually February is just an icy blue frozen nothing. And it's usually a good thing that it's a short month because it goes by fast. But yeah. I've noticed that this winter has been mild in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I mean, sure, there are a few things that might be contributing to the time going by. Like, I don't know, an Xbox Series X. That's no longer new to me, but it was new for 2 weeks. And the use case has gone back to normal adult behavior. But there is that new and shiny period. And then you just kind of wonder, like, where did February go? Right. I bought a console at the end of January. So that's kind of
busy.
But then there's also been a lot of other things, like I do find that, when I look back over the things that I'm supposed to be doing this month, not so much the work that I'm doing, but all the support work that I have to do around the things that I do. I run 3 small businesses out of my studio, depending on which you look at as a full business and which you look at folded into other parts of it. But essentially I have to keep, bookkeeping and tax records for all of that. And tax season is coming and I'm normally a little bit behind. But because 2020 was a good year for me business-wise, but also a, very quiet year for most of us social-wise, I've had the extra time to just stay on top of the books and all that kind of stuff. So I want to, rather than, filing later, I'd rather be on top of it and filing early. And as per everything, nothing seems to be going according to plan. I've had all of my information in a row as best I can, but then my accountant has questions about things and I can't answer them because I don't know. And it ends up, you have to do all this business research that as your business goes into different areas, you're just like, now I have to look at how to do that now. And it's not old hat like it has been for 10, 15 years. So there's complicated stuff with that. And between taxes, in terms of like bookkeeping records, between updating the Minecraft server that we both play on, which was fun, but
I'm really excited to dive into again.
It's just a lot of data coming my way. Like I just feel like between different communities, different conversations, between the Minecraft server, updating all of the data packs. Hats off to our friend Cosmic Dancer, by the way, that helped with the spreadsheet checklist for that. Because there's a number of quality.
She's a gift.
Yes, 100%.
She's a gift of a human.
So with all of the quality of life things that happen on the server, because it's a bunch of busy adults, as you can guess, playing on the server. And so we keep a number of quality of life data packs running to just kind of make life a little bit easier in terms of some of the harder items to get, some of the things that take a long time. We don't necessarily alter things too much. We just kind of give alternate avenues, and they're never replacing the vanilla. So if somebody goes in there hardcore vanilla and wants to do things the old-fashioned way, they totally can. We just added in a few things that just make some things a little bit easier, especially for folks that are like yourself and I doing content creation, like say the map mod. The map mod is not part of the game, but it allows me to look down from the top and sort out things like roads and paths and things so much easier than I would would be otherwise, right?
It's so much nicer to look at it, and like the zoom function that I think Alistair added is
Yeah,
very fun.
Optifine.
It's
Yeah,
added for a lot of yes, it's added a lot of very very fun moments for sure for
yeah,
game time.
and it's good too because as like I know my friend Johnny Pixelrose who does the spawn chunks with me, he talks about that as well with um, Optifine, and when he started doing his survival guide series, one of the things that he was saying he missed because he was running vanilla for a little while was the zoom function. I think he did eventually find an alternative way to do it because
Mhm.
as a tutorial series, when you're looking at something, a wall of things, and you want to emphasize a certain block or area or technique that you've used for education purposes, it's much easier to be able to zoom in and go this section right there, and then so everybody at
Yeah.
home gets it right.
Yeah.
And because as the player, you don't have those abilities. So a lot of the behind the scenes for the Minecraft server have all been brought up to snuff now, which is great. We're running 116.5. You know, we have a bunch of these data packs, but like to go through all of those things from different developers, developers vary on the naming of their data packs. Some are clear, some are just a jumble of numbers that make no sense and or
Yeah.
unnecessary versions, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like it just and the downloading site. This is the other thing that's always a problem. CurseForge is where a lot of these data packs live because it's the biggest database. It allows Twitch mods and stuff to, I shouldn't say data packs, the mods and stuff that we are updating to. Those have got to be downloaded from CurseForge. And I'm not using a Twitch loader. I'm just downloading and loading these into the server manually. But CurseForge is a terrible website. It is out of circa 2007, and it just
Oof. Bad
this
UI.
the search sucks, the UI sucks. It takes eons to find what you need. To the point where I've started bookmarking the mods that we use as individual links on my bookmarks bar, so I don't have to use CurseForge. I just have to go to the one place to get it. So,
Yeah.
but having to do that, I set out to do that Tuesday morning. Well, still at it Tuesday evening. Like that's the kind of day that I had with just a bunch of different things pulling in me in different directions, which has just set off my whole week.
Oof.
So that's my week. It's just been this like endless stream of information to the point where I've been skipping podcasts. Like I have podcasts I listen to sometimes daily. A lot of stuff that I listen to weekly has got new podcasts out. I've been very curious about some of the new things with the party lines, the political podcasts I listen to, and I have
Yeah.
just not. Like I usually read a
Had no
CBC
time.
newsletter every morning. No, I have the time. I just don't have the bandwidth anymore. Like I just don't have the brain
Ah,
power to process
yeah,
it, you know?
that
Especially
makes sense.
especially with important things like news and politics. I'm just like, no, just I will not remember any of this. I'm just going to sit here to do the dishes in silence, you know, because sure, like that seems like an appealing thing. I've even noticed some nights where I've sat down to spend some time on the Xbox, and I'm trying to get more into Forza, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And I just can't get into it. Like, I mean, I know it's a driving game, but there's been things about like tweaking the cars and some different stuff I want to look into, and I just can't seem to grasp like the best way to go about it because like my brain is just like I'm just gonna play something a lot simpler than Forza. You know, I'm gonna play a platformer or maybe nothing at all. Maybe I'll just go into the Xbox and turn on Twitch for a bit
Yeah.
because I just didn't have the brain power to do that stuff myself. I've also been logging into Minecraft a lot, and I promise I won't talk about Minecraft this whole podcast, but I've been also logging into Minecraft to do some menial tasks like clear this mound of dirt.
Mm.
It's going to take probably 45 minutes, but it's a nice thing to do at the end of the night before I go to bed because it requires zero brain power. Like I don't have to count. I don't have to think. I just have to say this level right here, flatten it. Okay. You know,
Just get it gone.
yeah, and it's not for anything other than just preparing for my next stream where that isn't necessarily the best stream content. I don't mind it if it has to happen on stream, but if I can plan to do it outside of the stream and I have the time, then I'd like to do it that way
You'd,
because I
you'd much rather. Yeah.
yeah, I'd rather build and engage with, you know, the audience and stuff on stream. So that was kind of like where things are going. I'm still having some issues with my PC as well in terms of the frame rate stutters and things like that. And so
I was
again,
gonna ask about that. That
more
sucks.
more data and more like reading through forum posts by not the people that know what they're like. It's just a bunch of people having different issues for different reasons, all chiming in, no one offering a solution to the original poster. Like someone says, hey, I have this, this, and this for text specs, and I'm having this issue. Does anybody know what's going on? And then the answers for the entire forum are all just like, I'm having this problem too. And then they explain their problem. It's like, but that's not helping. You're not solving. That's not a response. You're all just commiserating together. So I can't find the solution to it. And again, more data, like you just dive into these things, and this stuff gets over my head very fast. Like I'm savvy enough about computers, but not in terms of like hardware specs and what might be conflicting and why this problem is happening. And like, there seems to be a number of different reasons as to why the frame stutter would occur, but like, I can't figure out why. And I've tried to, with the help of our mutual friend, John, to try and sort it out, and neither one of us had any luck. And now I'm just like throwing spaghetti at the wall, which is the most frustrating way to try to solve a problem, right? It's just like, I don't know what's causing the issue, so I'm just randomly changing things and marking down, did that make a difference? Yes, no. And most of it seems to be reducing the stress on the CPU by not using essential apps, like the apps that that came with my mouse and my new mic. Well, it's kind of rips the rug out from underneath you to have these new pieces of hardware that have software that makes you, or allows you to use things like the multiple buttons on the mouse and the different broadcasting things that you can do with the mic, similar to Voicemeeter, which I could try to install Voicemeeter and achieve the same thing, but that's not the point. The point is, this is the software that it came with. It should work, and it's just mic software. It shouldn't tax my machine because I don't have a toaster. Like, I have a decent rig. It's only a year old-ish, 12, 14 months, with a brand new processor just less than 6 months ago. So I don't know. It's become a real issue. No, I have friends that have offered to help. So like I have a avenue that I can travel down. The problem is just like taking the time, and it's been so long now that it's just like, I don't trust that there is a solution, and I'm not looking forward to the amount of effort to then just end up right where I started. If that makes any sense. It sounds lazy, but I promise you it's more out of just frustration and
just tiredness.
Yeah, like if I can just get to the point where, and it seems since we updated to 16.5, for those of you that don't know, there's a number of mods that we use in Minecraft under the Fabric loader that on the server will help it run better, which also then runs the client side better. So Minecraft is taxing the computer less, which means that it's running smoother. It's not perfect, but it's to the point where it doesn't make me seasick when I play it. So again, the problem isn't solved. It's just patched enough to the point where it's smooth enough that I can play. Because if it happens, I'll notice right away, and that it's a hard nope after 15 minutes. Like I'll know immediately if I'm having issues. So it's one of those things.
I should get you in contact with my friend Mitchell, because he's actually been really great with helping me with my computer, and he's kind of like, this is what he does. Like he fixes computers for a living, and he is a computer engineer and knows them inside and out. And it might be something as simple as like the thermal paste on your graphics card is a little old. It might need to be replaced. It could be something.
No, it's brand new.
It's brand new.
Yeah. Because I put the new CPU in the fall.
Right.
But that's what I mean. It could just be this one little thing. The only thing I haven't been able to test is the motherboard. And I'm just I'm struggling to remember the specs of the motherboard right off the top of my head. It's an MSI. I sent my friend a link to that earlier.
The fact that you can remember that much about your motherboard off the top of your head
this is the thing, right? It is, what did I say it was? No, sorry. It's an Asus ROG Strix Z370E gaming motherboard.
Wow.
Yeah. It's on my Twitch page. All my specs, for people listening and they're like, I want to know what your specs are. You can go to the twitch.tv/JoelDuck, and they're all listed below the about page. The only thing that's out of date is my monitor. The monitor listed there is the old one. I'm using a different one now. But it's 2K. I have a 2K monitor. But yeah, so like I just don't know quite what's going on. But I might take you up on that contact information for your friend Mitchell if you are good with that.
I'll ask him too as well. But he lives for this. He lives for fixing stuff. Quite literally, like he's like, if anyone has a tech problem, he's like, let me look at it. I'll fix
Right.
it.
Yeah, because people like
So,
that, See, and that's the thing. Like, I'm like that too with like visual problem solving. I enjoy that part
mhm.
of the client artist, graphic designer relationship where you have a graphical problem. I have 20 years of experience. Let me help you solve your problem. What I don't
Yeah,
have 20 years of experience in is computer engineering.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it becomes like,
And he
yeah,
not 20 years, but at least 12.
right.
He's been at it for a long time.
Nice. Yeah. And
So
that's the kind of thing, like when you're steeped in it for a career or an in-depth hobby, then you become more of a knowledge base for that kind of stuff. So anyway,
yeah.
that's my rant in terms of how my nerdy week has been going so far. Do you have like, what have you been doing? Have you been doing any writing? Have you been doing anything creative? Like what's been on the chopping
Uh,
block?
yeah. So like, I mean, I know we talked about my book yonks ago, a while ago, and kind of just, I don't know what it is. Every winter, it kind of just starts to percolate in my brain again, and it's just like, maybe we should start thinking about this once more. So I've been like posting some TikToks about, the different, major places that the characters would go to, and eventually I'll do like an introduction of like, here's this character. And it kind of, the TikTok algorithm is really great for feeding people to stuff like that. But then I've also been working on the screenplay that I've been writing for the last year. I'm in my third draft of it. So a lot of it, like this, the story is pretty well solidified at this point. It's more just structure and, how to best tell it in like a narrative film format, and making sure that the dialogue sounds okay, or reads okay, and making sure that things make sense and that the timeline makes sense. Um, so that's really been like the only writing stuff that I've been up to. A lot of what I've been doing lately is, aside from, on stream, is doing some Minecraft. So I'm making some progress on the wizard tower. I have to finish the roof. And still deciding what I want to put in it. I'm trying to decide if I want to make it like an old abandoned dilapidated tower, or like leave it as is.
Mm.
I haven't quite decided yet, and then maybe build like an underground wizard fortress instead, but we'll see. I'm still kind of mulling things over. Um, and then I kind of recently got back into Stardew Valley, because someone, I did like a poll on my Twitch channel, and been like, what are some people interested in seeing? And everyone's like, Stardew Valley is actually kind of a fun game, and it's like kind of like Minecraft. And so I jumped back into it again, and oops, have fallen down another rabbit hole and can't seem to put it down. So I've been doing some of it off stream lately. I had to take a little bit of a break because I was also having some computer problems, and a lot of it was due to the graphics card. Like it would shut down at nothing. Like I launched The Sims without OBS running at all, and the computer completely just shut down. Like the graphics card
Wow.
was just like, nope, I'm done. And it's fine. Like I'm able to reboot it again afterwards, but the more like basically taxing things are causing it a lot of problems. So we know it's not the motherboard, because there's a new motherboard that's been put in there. It might be processor, but our first step is we've just put in a new graphics card.
Right.
So I'm excited to jump into it again, even playing a little bit of Among Us off stream with some friends, just to kind of test it and see how it's doing without a meltdown on stream. I noticed a little bit of an uptake in quality already, so I'm excited
Good.
to actually get into some more games and do that again. But that's pretty much it. Other than that, it's just been watching some stuff and slowly losing my mind.
So how is Stardew Valley going?
Really well. So I'm kind of doing it on my own right now, off stream. I did do a couple of things on stream, just to kind of get my feet under it a little bit. Because every time I've played Stardew Valley, and I've mentioned this on stream before as well, I have not played it alone. I've always jumped in on someone's main file as like a multiplayer, because you can do
Right.
multiplayer. You can build a house for a friend, and then both of you can just run around and do your own thing and whatnot. So um the first time I ever played was a group. It was like 5 of us. We were all just like, it was basically like a kind of impromptu LAN party. All of us had laptops sitting in one living room, all connected to the same Wi-Fi, and just playing Stardew Valley together. It was actually kind of fun.
That would be cool to be in the same room.
And it was very fun. Yeah, yeah. A very, very good time. And then I have played Stardew Valley on stream before, way back, like at the very beginning stages of my channel. And I was playing that with Colin, who is affectionately been dubbed on Twitch as the Human Fizz. It's a long story. I don't quite know how that happened. So my nickname for Colin is Fizz. I've been calling him Fizz forever because neither of us are very. We're not very into like normal pet names. Like I don't call him Babe or Hun or whatever. Like we're just
Right.
not. We're just not that kind of. We're not that kind of people. So just one day I was just we were walking, and anytime he did something, I'd be like, productive boy, or, fizz. He's like, I'm going to get some fizz. And I was like, fizz boy. And he was like, I like that. I like that a lot. It kind of hit a good spot for him. So I just started calling him Fizz. It just sort of happened. And so when I referred to, because I think he wanted to keep his name kind of private, but that sort of fell by the wayside. But his nickname now is the Fizz on, or Duh Fizz in particular on Twitch. And Alistair very kindly mentioned this. We don't drink the Fizz. He is human. So now he's called the Human Fizz on stream, which is just really funny.
Nice, yeah.
It's very funny.
It's nice when nicknames like that have like an organic development to the point where they get to the point where it's funnier. It's also like easier to remember in a way because it has like a descriptor in it. Like I've got a couple of people in my Discord and Twitch. I won't call out any names because there's too many to like recall, but a number of people have very clever Twitch handles, and not necessarily funny, like just like unique just combinations of animals and or phrases or fun, just kind of like non sequiturs is usually my favorite. Like if someone's just like the cow spoon, like it just for like just some weird like Far Side esque,
actually really great,
right? Like any like stuff like that. And sometimes they're not like members of the community; they come in from a raid, or they come in because I've got that server, not server boost, boost the stream challenge has happened a number of times over the last few weeks on Twitch, and so you get a number of new people coming in, but they're new people that have been around on Twitch for a while, so they're not new to Twitch, they're just new to you, and so they have this like established, thought out username. I especially like the people that have like inserted caps, so I don't have to try to read a 13 character username with 3 different words with no punctuation.
I did that on purpose.
Yeah.
I did that on purpose. I had someone asked if my username was a reference to Wind Waker, and I was like, no, it's just my last name. That's it. I jumped into someone. I've been like checking out a bunch of different random streamers and things. We had a really amazing serendipitous moment though, where while I was playing Stardew, somehow the conversation just turned into a wild array of T-puns. Just T-puns up the wazoo, and it just everyone kept going. And poor Cosmic was modding that day, and she was like, am I allowed to time people out for this? And I was like, well, they're not breaking any rules. And she was like, well, they're breaking my heart. So this is I wonder, can we make an exception? I love puns. I think that they're great. Yeah, it just became like a variety of T-puns. So we ended up finding like someone else to raid, just someone we didn't know, because no one we knew was streaming, and ended up finding this girl who was playing Stardew Valley, and her Twitch name is a T-pun. Her name is Empty. So we're just like, perfect. It's you're the chosen one, and she's lovely. Empathy. And she's lovely. She's so sweet. And so it was a very, very nice, felt like another chill stream to jump into with Stardew with lots of T-puns. It just kind of kept the good vibes rolling, which I really, really appreciated. But yeah, no, it's been a fun time. I'm hoping to expand my repertoire for gaming at some point as well. Because right now it's pretty exclusively Stardew, Minecraft, occasionally The Sims. I say occasionally because it's been overclocking a lot of stuff. So hopefully now I can actually do that a bit more often. What else? Oh, Spirit Fair, which I still have to finish. So I'm trying to make like an agenda of things I want to finish in the next little bit, and then I think at some point down the line I'm going to look and see if I can invest either in a PS5, hopefully with the new money I'll have coming in from my hopefully new job, and Or I'll ask my roommate if I can borrow her PS4 and play some games like Horizon Zero Dawn has been one I've wanted to look at for a while, and the new Animal Cross. Sorry, I just private joke. I'll explain in a second. The new Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I've started calling it Animal Crossing Valhalla as because one day on stream, someone was saying they were playing ACV, and my brain automatically translated to Animal Crossing Valhalla when she meant Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and it just has become a thing. So sorry, it's always just going to be Animal Crossing Valhalla to me. So I caught myself halfway through, but it still slipped out a little bit, so I apologize.
I'm getting these images like Tom Nook running around in the Assassin's Creed hood. You're really funny.
Yes, or your little character is just a Viking, and it's just like, it's Animal Crossing Valhalla, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. But AC in my brain has just been Animal Crossing forever. So whenever I see like AC is like a word, it's just Animal Crossing all the time. Anyway,
my sister and her family got a Switch for Christmas, and so Animal Crossing is one of the things that's in their regular rotation. That and Mario Kart.
Yeah.
So I know a fair bit just from talking with Andrea and like hearing what my niece is into, that kind of thing.
And we've talked about it before in the show too.
Yes, yeah, that was a while ago.
This was like last year.
Yeah. No, when it first came out, it was about a year ago actually. Yeah, that's because it was released in March or something like that. I can't remember. But yeah, so I'm familiar with it and having never played. I own and have installed Stardew Valley, but I have not actually played it because I want to wait until I have some chill time to do it. And I've been trying to increase and grow my viewership on the channel with the hopes of potentially applying for Twitch partner, because
Congratulations, by the way, you've been doing very well, and I'm very proud to see how far you've come with it. It's really cool.
I appreciate it. It's frustrating that I've got this one metric that seems to be just out of grasp, and I don't know what the process is. So I need to talk to a couple of people that I know that are partners that have offered to give me some advice and whatnot. So because I know it's not an easy thing, and I know it's a lot of like applying and hoping they reply in a timely manner. And then one thing I don't necessarily like about the way things are going right now is that obviously Minecraft is the biggest viewership, and while yes, I'm often in the mood to play Minecraft, there's other things during the week that I would like to explore, and the viewership is like a third of what I would normally get from Minecraft streams, so it pulls the average way down. The bright side of all of this is that well, I did have extra time over the holidays to do a lot of weekday streaming. I don't really have that time. I should not be. I should be streaming on weekends when I have Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, and then Monday should be Monday through Friday should be more work time / evenings should be not streaming. Because and as silly as it sounds, like sometimes it's just as simple as like saving your voice for podcasting, because not getting too tired, like not spending that much time of the week being on all the time, if that makes any sense. Big air quotes, because I'm not like a big on personality. I'm pretty chill on Twitch as well, but yeah, so that's where the direction I'm going. So Stardew Valley, while I know it gets a lot of viewership, I know it does not have the same pull that Minecraft does, certainly not for my channel. Because that's what people right now are tuning in for. Now, I have done other games in the past. I've done Satisfactory, which is going to have an update hopefully in March. There's No Man's Sky that just got an update recently that I'd like to check out. But I'm kind of staying to the course and trying some strategy and sticking to it as far as the channel goes. And I'm also out there looking for people to raid, because something that's nice about having the channel growing is that I very often have a decent sized chat room. So at the end of my stream, I'd like to pass that on to somebody new. And in the process of looking for new people to follow, I was kind of bumming around on the Xbox last night. I just wanted to watch something. I wanted to turn my brain off and just kind of tune in. And I was just looking, and I've been trying to find more female streamers to send people to, because I have a short list, but I very often tend to send people to other dudes. And statistically, I think it's just that there are more dudes that stream. And the type of streams I tend to want to send people to just happen to have a guy at the helm. Well, the other night I found a streamer who's I don't know how old she is for sure, but she does strike me as younger, because like there was a conversation in the chat about like not knowing what WoW was, like World of Warcraft. So
Oh, oh, baby.
missed
Oh,
that boat. Missed that boat entirely. It was funny and earnest though. It was not like a big. No one was making fun. It was just like a general like what are you talking about? And if you're not into video games, people are not going to know that, right? Like if the
no,
one
it's
thing you
true.
play is Minecraft and that's all you've ever played, then you probably don't know about a lot of different acronyms and things, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, short Zelda 22 is the user. I'll have a link in the show notes. Super sweet. She was really nice. She wasn't doing a heck of a lot. She was clearing out a cave or something. So it wasn't like she was building anything. I didn't stick around long enough to see it, but I was there for a good 20 minutes or so. But really funny moment, talking earlier in the show tonight about like data and overwhelm and like all the stuff going on. And there's so many streamers and so many things to think about. So I followed, and then she said like, "Oh my gosh, thanks very much." And she goes, "You sound familiar." Now, I'm not in her chat saying a lot because I'm on the Xbox and typing on that is a pain in the butt. So
Yeah.
and I'm also not there to advertise. So I'm not going to say, "Oh, I'm from the Spawn Chunks podcast." Like that's not the appropriate thing to do.
No. Etiquette.
So she's like, "You sound familiar. Like, do you stream Minecraft?" And so I was like, "Yeah, I stream Minecraft from time to time," thinking like like I've probably logged about 150 hours since November. Like it's just,
Yeah.
like it's I've put in some time. I didn't say that. I said like, yeah, I play some Minecraft. Like basically it was like the shortest answers I could without being, rude. Cause again, typing on the Xbox is difficult. And so she goes to follow me back and she was like, "Oh," and she just starts laughing. "I already follow you." It's probably why you sounded familiar. I was just like, that's really
cute.
Really funny.
That's very fun.
Yeah,
I love it when stuff like that happens.
And her community was really sweet too. So, I mean, I'm sure at some point I'll overlap and I'll be able to raid her at some point in the future. But I wanted to give her a shout out here. If she doesn't do much outside of Minecraft, she's got probably no idea about the Citadel Cafe. So it's all good. But if people are looking for, I want to say family friendly, certainly. Well, maybe not family friendly. Maybe say like, teenage friendly. She wasn't swearing, but some of the conversation in the chat was maybe a little bit more junior high school.
Right.
In terms of maturity level, but she wasn't vulgar. Right. She wasn't swearing. She wasn't being annoying or loud. It was a very nice presentation, and it struck me as really nice and chill. And so I wanted to kind of give a shout out to her here. And like I said, the reaction was just like, it was really, really, really adorable.
That's really cute.
Speaking of recommendations, we have an email from Pearlescent Moon 3812798 this week. TikTok recommendations, and I saved this one for the show with Megan because Megan and I are the two hosts that talk about TikTok the most, I think.
Yeah.
Hi there, Joel and Megan. I just have a few quick TikTok account recommendations. I'm going to say that again. Hi there, Joel and Megan. I just had a few quick TikTok account recommendations. For music, I suggest you check out and possibly follow Fazia Official. She has an amazing voice. She also has a YouTube channel called Fazio. Fazia? Faouzia. I will have that link in the show notes as well. Cooking videos for that kind of stuff you should check out at Eaton, Eitan. He's a really good chef. I didn't have time to check out the music one before the show, but I did check out Eaton. Eaton Bernath, I believe is his name. I found his Instagram account. The food looks incredible, but that buries the lead. He's 18.
Wow. Okay.
Like what? There's pictures of him, I think, doing like chef stuff at like what looks like he's maybe 8 or 10. Like there's obviously he's 18 now, but like he's doing a lot. Obviously the Instagram page has the vibe of an 18-year-old person on social media that has over 600,000 people following him. But, it looks like really, really interesting, high quality food. And I like these kind of quick hits. I've never been someone that likes cooking shows on television. I don't watch the cooking shows on Netflix.
Yeah.
I might enjoy them and I should probably give some a shot, but I prefer this small dose stuff. It's one of the reasons why I like food TikTok is because I can just download a 1-minute video that if I pause it probably has the recipe included, or there's a link to like, the recipes on my Instagram page or, something like that.
Or it's in the comments or something. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can find that stuff really easily. And the fact that you get to watch somebody make it and see like, hey, by the way, this is how you do this. And it's like a 2-second clip of them doing a specific thing, like flipping something or use this oil, not that oil. And you're just like, these are the kind of tips that I like because I'm not a novice chef, but I'm also nowhere near any kind of, like, I've never worked in the industry. So there's a lot of stuff I don't know. And
Yeah.
I'm at that point now, especially after being home so much during 2020. And while I enjoy cooking at home, I'm kind of done with the same, 12 to 15 meals that I have in regular rotation. And so I'm trying to expand and try a few new things. And the links like this to Eaton are fantastic. So I'll have a link to Eaton and of course the musical link in the show notes as well. People can kind of like go and check them out and see what's new. But I don't know. I think the people that I follow on TikTok is public. I can't remember. But I've got a number of chef TikToks. I can't remember his name. He's like Sad or Mopey or I can't remember his name. His name has something to do with like a emote or an emoji or emo kind of like vibe to it.
Right.
Sad Pappy. I think it's Sad Pappy. I've mentioned him on
Oh,
the show
yes.
before.
Yes.
He's
Yeah.
really good, and he's not sad.
Mm-hmm.
He's just really mellow. And so
Yes.
he has this kind of vibe of just being really melancholy, even though
Probably
he's
comes
not.
off as sad.
Yeah,
Like just
yeah.
in relation to everyone else on
Yeah.
TikTok who
And
is
and it just, I think it's probably, it sounds like a nickname he might have got in a kitchen working professionally as a chef, right? So,
Right, yeah.
so he kept it on social media, but he recently got verified actually. So I'll try to remember adding Sad Pappy to the list here too, or at least that'll be a recommendation for Pearlescent Moon 381 there. Because if you like food TikTok, then you'll like Sad Pappy, because he does things like, showing you how to do preserves and like, garlic oils and stuff that you don't necessarily make as a meal, but you'll need later to include in some of the other dishes that he does. Because his whole thing is that he makes things fancy. Like he takes pancakes and he makes them
Right.
fancy, or he takes some
Right.
roasted chicken but makes it fancy. But anyway, those are really cool. Do you have anybody new on your TikTok list that we might be able to pass along?
Oh, no, not anyone that is immediately coming to mind. I've been trying to like get in with the small streamer community on TikTok. There's actually a lot of streamers on there, and some people will post really great tutorials, and like that's actually kind of how I figured out some of the audio effects that I've added to my Twitch stream lately. I've added like a feature called audio ducking. So if anyone ever, launches a like a sound effect or something, I have like, sound effects in my channel points and whatnot. And but like I don't have to like shout over anything anymore, or like wait till it's done before I can keep talking. It just automatically lowers the volume of the thing that's not my mic.
Nice.
So it's mic, so fun little tweaks like that it just kind of overall makes the quality of your stream a little bit better. I've put up some myself for like, I figured out how to make a fun shaped webcam, because I see so many people like there's trends I've noticed with webcams and stuff on Twitch, and we're kind of derailing the conversation a little bit, but but a lot of people are like, either will use the kind of landscape style webcam, and some people have been like shrinking them down or cutting them down to be more of like a portrait style instead. And I kind of, everyone is very samey. It's all very boxy. So I changed my webcam to be like a circle and have like part of my logo surrounding it, so it looks just different and still is on brand for me, I guess.
Cool.
So just little stuff like that has kind of been what I've fallen into, but it's not really a person in particular. But if I do find anyone that I feel like you might enjoy, I will be sure to make note and pass it along.
I'd be curious about some of the Twitch stuff too, because I don't find the back end of Twitch overly easy to navigate.
I don't either,
helpful.
and
So
I agree.
So I'm looking. I have the, I guess, benefit of resisting a webcam for as long as I can possibly do it, because I just don't have any interest in being on webcam. I think it's partly because most of what I do is visual, like in Minecraft. Like, I mean, I don't have reactions to placing blocks. Like, I mean, I'm going to look, if you want to see what I look like playing Minecraft, I look like a dope. Like, I'm just staring at the screen, placing blocks and talking. Like, it's not a overly complicated thing, I understand people that play horror games or people that do a lot of just chatting. That makes sense. Like if you're going to chat, then you want someone to engage
Yeah.
with. Like I understand that.
Yeah, I think you're with that one demographic that can really get away without having a webcam, and it's very rare.
I think so.
But I feel like you are absolutely that kind of creator that can get away without having a webcam because you have a very nice voice to listen to, and your content is about what you're doing, not about you. Well, it is
Yeah,
kind of
that's
about you,
fair.
but it's about
Yeah.
what you're doing, right?
Yeah,
So,
no, it's about
um,
my creativity, not necessarily about me. I think that's a fair
exactly.
assessment. And thank you, by the way. Yeah.
No problem. No, of course. Whereas like I want my content to be kind of more. This sounds so conceited. I know it's. I know you don't think this, but it like my content is more about me a
No,
little
of
bit
course.
more. As
And there's nothing wrong
like
with that. I want to, yeah, and that is the MO of Twitch. Like that is, and I get it because like I can tell you from a marketing standpoint, when I'm browsing through Twitch and looking for um, thumbnails to click on to try to watch somebody new, I may not click on someone that has a webcam first, but I will see that thumbnail first before I see the one next to it that doesn't have a webcam. It's
mhm.
human condition. You see a face and you look at it. Like you have to just like
Yeah,
eyes, nose, mouth, hair, analyze. Like just you just kind of say, who is this? Oh, person. Okay, it's quick. But when you know
yeah,
what you're looking for, you know it's happening because the statistics show that new people are going to come to your stream because you have a webcam. Then like I can't argue with those metrics. Like I get that it works for
yeah.
those that do it. I think the only time that like again I would have more um, in a game that would involve a lot more chatting. Like I would be more inclined to have a webcam on something like Stardew Valley than I would be in Minecraft or what's the other one I played? The not Factorio, Satisfactory. Like those
Yeah,
are such
yeah.
visual games as to what I'm doing. I have very little reaction. But then Stardew Valley just
Mhm.
seems to me, from the outside looking in, having never played it, looks like there's a lot of opportunity to chat with the chat room, right?
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
There can be for sure. But then it kind of sets the precedent of if you do include a webcam for other things like Stardew and
Yeah.
Satisfactory and things like that, you will probably have to or be
Open
forced
up
to
the can
include
of
it with your
worms.
Minecraft. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean it's at that point it's like, whereas you are a creator that does not have a webcam, and I would argue that you don't really need one either.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly you've done very well without one. I definitely think that it would not necessarily for you, but in general, it does add a little bit of extra um, like personalization, I guess,
Sure.
for
Yeah.
lack of
Yeah.
a
Of
better
course.
word.
Of course it
But
does.
I
Yeah.
don't think that for your type of content, I don't think it's super necessary
Mm. Yeah. I mean,
personally.
I'm sticking my foot in the sand for as long as I can
Yeah,
for that one. But
and then that could very well be forever, really.
yeah, I
But I
mean, who
mean,
knows? We'll see. I mean,
yeah.
there are other streamers that I see that don't have one that are very like just wildly successful, but they have other
Hmm.
avenues, and they either used to have a webcam or for whatever reason they're big enough that they can just say whatever. I don't want to deal with it. I don't have to. But they're not climbing the
Yeah,
ladder. They're already at the top of their game, so
yeah,
they don't have to get there. They can kind of do whatever they want. But
yeah.
yeah, I know what you mean. Moving on into what we have been watching and or playing since the Xbox is a big part of my life now. I have continued to watch Kim's Convenience Season 4. I actually had to double check to make sure that I was in Season 4 because I've just been hitting next on Netflix, not paying much attention at all to where the seasons start and begin. However,
That's a good sign.
it is and it isn't because I'm starting to see the pattern now. I remember
Oh, okay.
saying that Season 3 started to get long in the tooth, started to feel repetitive. And then Season 4 was a bright shining breath of fresh air, and now Season 4 is starting to get repetitive, and they're starting to recycle their jokes, and so I'm in the last 3 episodes of the season. I checked before I started the show, and I still very much enjoy Appa and Yama, the main Kims, the mom and dad. I find, even though it's weird, some of their not conflicts but their situational comedy beats wrapping up in a 22-minute episode feels a little bit neat and tidy. But I mean, it's also the format of the show.
Yeah.
And other stuff fails in comparison. Like everything that they do seems to be really, it either has a little bit of heart to it. It's always funny. I love the way that they jape back and forth. Like that to me is my favorite part of the show. So slight spoiler, Jung and Shannon are just as annoying together as they were when they were circling one another. So that like they didn't change the dynamic there. It's annoyingly unrealistic and weird, and it doesn't feel like it fits with the rest of the show.
Mm.
Janet's roommate, or Gerald, and his girlfriend, who I don't remember her name, are the same. They are the exact same in every situation. It's annoying. They are unrealistically moochy friends to the point where anyone would call them out on it, but Janet never seems to learn nor do it. Or she calls them out on that,
Mm.
and then they never change. There's no like stop, or I'll yell stop again. There's no repercussions for their repetitive annoying actions.
There's no development.
No, exactly. And so that I find a real pain in the butt. So like whenever it's Gerald and his girlfriend, or Jung and Shannon, like I'm really close to skipping those scenes. The saving grace for Jung is Kimchi. I really like Kimchi. He's more fun in this season as well. He's grown up a
Mm.
bit, and it's so you get to see like professional Kimchi with a personality, but then also letting his hair down Kimchi at home in the apartment, and who's like a 14-year-old boy. Like it's a really nice dynamic. He's like the Joey, if that makes any sense.
Right.
But he's
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
dumb. Like he's got that like enjoy being a kid when you can kind of feel to him, which is really good.
Mm-hmm.
Now Janet, on the other hand, the daughter, outside of her roommate situation, she's probably had the most character development this season, or this last season into this season, and I do enjoy it. She's fun. She's got more of a sense of humor. I love the developing relationship between her parents and her, because she's moved out and there's more of a dynamic there. And especially with her and Appa, it's really subtle. It's clever. They don't beat you over the head with it, which I like a lot. So there are some shining parts to it. But the general, like, they lean a lot heavier on the handy car rental stuff in season 4, and it's just like it's another show. It's like watching Community, or some other really slapsticky, weird situational comedy put into this other comedy that has heart and story and characters and relationships. It's like a skit comedy in the middle of a skit sitcom, and for me it doesn't work. And that's not to say that it's nothing bad against the actors. It's the writing and the style that they deal with it. I particularly don't like Terrence. He's cartoonish and awkward, and it's like it could be so much more subtly written, and it's just not. They're just not even trying.
Right.
So I mean, I'll finish the season. I mean, I've committed this much. There is a new season on TV that I haven't seen anything from, so I might wait for that to finish and give myself a breath before I go back and watch it. But because of Appa and Yama, I will 100% keep watching the show. I'm just seeing, after 4 seasons, I'm seeing the weak sides of it now.
Right. As you probably will with most sitcoms like that.
Yeah.
So.
Did you ever start watching it? I think you said you were going to at least
No,
look at
not
it.
yet. That's I think that's the next thing on the docket for Colin and I, because we ended up falling down a rabbit hole of watching a really old Canadian cartoon from the 90s called Cybersix. Um,
I remember this.
yes, I don't so anytime I've ever brought it up with someone, I'm like, did you remember late at night, usually on a Friday, on Teletoon, a show called Cybersix, and it's like a deep hidden memory that a lot of people have. And oftentimes I remember we brought it up to another couple friend of ours, and her and their roommate, and the roommate said, her name is Renee, she said, that always felt like a show that was too old for me. I wanted to watch it. It looked beautiful, but it didn't feel like it was meant for me. It felt like it was meant for an older demographic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kinda how I always felt watching it. It kinda had this weird, like, forbidden sense about it all the time. Because when I was first watching it, I think I was, like, 12 or 13 or something, and it always just felt like, because it was on so late at night, my bedtime was usually around 9, and it was, like, on at, like, 9:30 or something. It was like, you're up just a little bit too late at night, and it kinda feels like a little bit, seedy, kind of just like the whole vibe of the show. Um, so we watched it again as adults, kind of like a whole new, fresh perspective. And we realized that the show actually doesn't know who its demographic is at all. Like, not even a little bit. The animation is beautiful. It's stunning. It looks amazing, and it definitely looks like the production wanted to make the show for more of a teen audience, like, you know, a minimum of like a 14 or something, like 14 and up. But the studio or the network was saying, no, we want this for children. So it actually has a rating of C8. It's meant for 8-year-olds. 9:30 at night. It was on at 9:30 at night. And so you can tell by the dialogue, it's a very like dumbed down dialogue. There's not a lot of essence to the dialogue at all. It's meant to be very simple, but the action is quite aggressive and quite violent in some instances. So it doesn't quite match up to itself, but it has so much potential. And then we did some deeper look into like the source material. It's like, how did the show come to be? It's a Canadian studio who developed it, did the writing, etc. Canadian producers with a Japanese animation department, but it doesn't quite have an anime vibe either. But it's an Japanese animation studio with a Canadian production company on a Canadian network, inspired by an Italian published Argentinian comic. So it's a weird blend of stuff. And the comic itself is actually it's rated 18 plus.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to figure out who looked at this comic and said, "Yes, excellent children's TV show." Who did that? I don't know. I like there's so much mystery surrounding the actual conception, like how the show got greenlit. I have no idea. It is a complete mystery, and Colin and I have scoured the internet to try and find out, how did this show come to be? And there's no information about it. We just know it happened. And here's the two different avenues that it took. Here's the adult comic book that only had about, like, I don't know, 8, not 8 issues, but like 8 long issues anyway, or like 12 long issues or something. And then this Canadian animation production that had a total of 13 episodes. And that's it. And there's no other information about it at all. But I ended up like finding, and there's no English translation of the comic book either. It's only in French and Spanish and Italian. That's it. So it's really weird. So the comic book itself is quite aggressive. It's a lot of nudity. It's a lot of violence in various forms, and the whole idea is that she's like a kind of created humanoid called a cyber, and she is the sixth one of like 5,000 of them. And the whole idea, it's meant to be like this disgraced Nazi scientist who wants to take over the world. You know, typical bad guy plot.
Mm-hmm.
So the show goes into, her name is Cybersix. It's tattooed to her arm. She's hiding from her creator. She knows that much. She knows that she has to, like, essentially, take out or kill his goons that he sends after her to try and get her back, because they drop this like vial of what looks like very acidic green goop that she has to drink to keep herself going. It's like her life force. And if she doesn't have it, she'll die. And they literally talk about this in one episode, in the first one, where you can very clearly tell, okay, this is where we're going to get into this 14 rating. And then that was the pilot. And then after that, they never talk about it again until the 13th episode. And that is it. So it really did not know what it wanted to do, or like they were given so much red tape that they couldn't really do what they wanted with it. And you can really only tell the level of like depth that they wanted to get into with it with the 12th episode and the last episode. But they were really constrained. So it was basically forced to turn into a Monster of the Week show. You had this really annoying character that was the main villain named Jose, and he was basically like the Goonie kind of, son of the main, who was meant to be the main villain. And he just ended up being a cartoony, really annoying villain. In the comic book, he's heinous. I can't look at him anymore because I found a couple of panels where he's actually just a despicable human, but he looks like a child, so it just makes it even more. I won't even just get into it. It's gross. He's gross. And it just, sorry, I just totally derailed my train of thought. My brain rot. This show has given me so much brain rot, but it's so fascinating because it wanted to be something like it wanted to be so much more, but it wasn't given the opportunity. And I feel like it has so much potential, and it would do very well now as like a Netflix reboot with an actual like teen plus rating on it, because I think it would be really great for especially millennials who were either kids or teens in the 90s. That would definitely be a very nostalgic thing, which is why I started watching it in the first place out of nostalgia. And then it just sort of fell into, wow, this show is not given the treatment it really deserved, because it has a lot of very interesting themes, a lot of very interesting backstory that I don't even think the comic book gets into. And it just like it doesn't go into like how she escaped her creator in the first place, how she ended up where she is now. That by day she daylights as a male literature teacher, and then like at night she kind of is her own self, and is kind of like a sort of anti-hero, but also a hero. It's very confusing, but I weirdly love it a whole bunch, and I want it. I want it to come back. I want it to have like a sort of resurgence. And if there was ever an opportunity for me to like write it, like Colin and I were coming up with amazing, I say amazing, I think it's incredible, like good ideas on how to like actually structure the show and get into actual lore and plot, so it doesn't just become a Monster of the Week show. How much of the show do you remember?
I don't remember the details. I do remember watching it, and I remember looking forward to it. To paint a picture, I was in my second year university in '99 when this was coming out. So Teletoon at night was not something that I had access to at home, but because I lived in the dorm for the first 2 years of university, all the rooms had cable TV. All you had to do was provide your own television and hook it up, and you were golden, which was great because in Sackville, New Brunswick, winters were long. And there was not a lot to do, especially for the first year if you were underage and you couldn't get into the bars, depending on when your birthday was. We ended up watching a lot of late night television. But I remember Cybersix. I think Duckman was another one that we used to watch. But this was the early start to some very popular cartoons on Teletoon at night for adults. Think like John Callahan's Quads, Undergrads, Clone High, Daft Planet, Bromwell High later on. This was kind of after I finished school. But then you've got other things that come along and were not original series, but were perhaps acquired by Teletoon for, say, rebroadcast. Things like Axe Cop much later, or Grim and Evil. Actually, that was probably more of a younger show. The Max was animated in 1998, but then rebroadcast later on Teletoon. The Tick, the Oblongs, like all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so there was this surge of like adult aimed comedy. What was the other one that was really popular? It was about talking fast food or something. I can't remember the name of it. I was out of the.
Oh, I remember that one.
I was out of the mix at some point.
Yeah,
I'll find the title here. I'm looking on the wiki page. I'll have a link to the Teletoon Night stuff. Robot Chicken is another really good example, rising to fame in 2006. Napoleon Dynamite was a cartoon, I guess. I'm looking for this name. Yeah. Something Squad. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
It was like Ripping Friends. I remember Ripping Friends being a thing.
Ripping Friends was a thing. Was it an original?
I don't know if that was an original or not.
No, I think so. That's the thing. Like it's hard to pinpoint, because the stuff that's original you tend to know because Teletoon always put that front and center, and then other stuff that they acquired later on wasn't so much the same. Todd McFarlane's Spawn, I think that was originally aired on MTV in the States. Venture Brothers, 2005, all that kind of stuff later on. So I remember one of the things I liked so much about Cybersix was, one, the animation was really good.
So good.
And the action was good, and there was like real like pathos, like there was real consequences for things. It wasn't like your typical after school Batman special where like no one ever really died, like that kind of stuff, which I thought was cool. And I remember the vibe of it being, I'm remembering something else, I think, because I remember Cybersix, but there's another cartoon that had a very distinct style, but was also like action packed and violent. And I can't quite remember. The characters were drawn and they had like hairy arms, but the hair on the arms was like big black dashes.
No, that's Cyber
Is it
Six.
Cybersix? Okay. So I'm
Cyber
only,
Six. And
okay. So it is the
this
same
is
way.
where people
Yeah.
get with it. It's just like they remember it being much more violent, and it
Mm-hmm.
is quite violent. Like the action is quite aggressive, but the dialogue is so juvenile. It's been dumbed down for, again, we were, because some of the episodes we found online to watch because we couldn't find it anywhere. So we just watched it like a pirated streamed version.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it was ripped directly from Teletoon, and we can see the Canadian C8 rating in the top corner. Like, this, really?
Yeah.
And a lot of people were just like, this is not, like, I wouldn't consider it meant for kids, but the
No.
dialogue was very meant for kids, and it turned into, like, again, like a Monster of the Week cartoon. And the dialogue that they had for Cyber Six was really weak, really, really weak. And the only, like, whenever she was talking to herself, it's a lot of exposition, because she had like the panther who was actually her brother. Her brother had died, and they basically, like, the evil scientist took her brother's brain and put it in a panther.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that?
Oh
Like,
yeah, and what I remember mostly is her cape, like her cowl
yes.
and stuff is very dramatic and very angular.
Mhm.
A lot of sharp angles and stuff. She's drawn like a '90s action comic hero, right? Like everything's
Yeah.
black. There's a giant, like everything has got. If she's in black, there's blue reflective light all over her, like leather-esque kind of cat suit. Like there's all these squiggly reflection lines, and
Yeah.
it's funny. Like they would draw these characters as if they're like these specters in the night, but they're in the most reflective, shiny, neoprene outfits that you can imagine a character being in.
Dramatic
Uh,
effect.
yeah, it's very well. It also helps when you, as an artist, when you're trying to draw black stuff, you have to have the light hit it somehow to differentiate the shapes. Otherwise, you're just drawing a bunch of black blobs, which doesn't make any sense. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I do. Okay, so I do remember this being one of the top action comic cartoon shows. We eventually in university we rolled over into the CG stuff because we had all grown up on Transformers, and then Beast Wars started. So between Reboot and Beast Wars and Planet Wars, I can't remember the name of the show that had the different elements. There's an ice planet, a fire planet, a rock planet, and something else. I don't remember. I mean, it was not overly imaginative, but it's what we had at the time.
I
Yeah,
remember vaguely, but I cannot remember the name of that one. But I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah. I'm sure people are screaming at their podcast right now as to what the title of it
Please
was.
write in and let us know if you know what that's
Yeah, I mean, if I can find it, I'll maybe look it up to it. But I mean, it was under the same, like, Reboot, Beast Wars,
Mm-hmm.
all that kind of stuff. And I've looked it up before, and then immediately gone like, oh right, and promptly forgot it since that time. But yeah, like I miss cartoons like that, and I find it so difficult. I haven't had a chance to talk about it much on the show. I did finish watching the latest Transformers cartoon on Netflix, miniseries, 6 episodes. It's called Earthwatch. Real disappointing would be putting it lightly.
Oh, really?
War for Cybertron or Transformers Cybertron, something I can't remember what the first series was called, was decent. It's got the same team that did it's one of your favorite YouTube channels. They did not Ruby. Yeah, Ruby.
Rooster Teeth. Yeah.
Rooster Teeth. So I think it's a team from Rooster Teeth that's doing the animation. I could be wrong on that, but it's not about the animation so much as it's about the design, it's about the nostalgia, and it's about the story. And in the first season and a half, they really do give Megatron a really cool kind of backstory / emotional arc. It's more than you ever get to see from Megatron as an 80s villain. Is basically black and white. He's just bad. He does bad things. He's bad. You don't trust him, blah, blah, blah. But in the last 2 to 3 episodes of second season, Megatron becomes a broken record. Like everything out of his mouth is the exact same statement. And all of the growth just comes to a grinding halt. And you're just like, oh, you were doing so well. How did you write the first 3 and not continue on with the last 3 was beyond me. Even Optimus Prime just becomes a chest thumping Captain America in the last 2 episodes, and he just says the same bloody thing over and over again. And they don't die because it's all prequel stuff, which is, to Lou's point, very often on the Citadel Cafe, prequels are very frustrating in that where they end up. So nothing bad is going to happen to them. They don't present this as an alternate timeline. It's all supposed to be just happening before they get to Earth. But
Right.
there are some other side things, like some of the big baddies and some of the larger Transformers universe that occurred in the Transformers film from the 80s are in this cartoon. So Predacons and just all kinds of really interesting stuff there. In terms of who made the Transformers, where do they come from, like all that kind of stuff. So that was really cool. But there's precious little of that in the second season. But I'm jonesing for a cartoon like Cybersix, or like some of the DC animated features that you and I have talked about before. I'd like to find something like that. I was actually just speaking the other day about wanting the Dragon Prince to come back. I don't remember having a lot of nice things to say about the latest season. I think it ended in a place that I was happy with, but I felt like they took a really long ass time to get there.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to wanting new stuff like that, I'm going to. I want something like the Dragon Prince, and I'll latch on to characters I like Amaya and other characters. So I want something like that to come back to, because I've found that I've been wanting to watch some cool animation. I've been wanting to watch a cool story, but I'm not really getting it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's and that's kind of what Colin and I were feeling with Cybersix. We really enjoyed looking at it. It looks amazing. And we were really she's so compelling. Like, the character is so compelling. And I think what both of us found so frustrating was that there's so much potential in her as a character. There's so much of a potential for growth, because you can see, even though it's done subtly, it's done very quickly. She starts off very solitary at the beginning, even with her alter ego, who's Adrian, but they don't go into how did she come up with the name Adrian? Why is she going by Adrian during the day? And I found out in the comic book, she ends up stumbling across this guy whose name is Adrian Seidelman, and they happen to look very similar. He dies in a car accident, so she assumes his identity. And that's she kind of just melds into his life, and she figures out, okay, he's a teacher, and she's able to learn things very quickly, so she just kind of adapts to being a teacher, and she moves to this new city and starts this new job as a teacher to make some income so she can just kind of live under the radar. But there's so much, they don't go into any of that in the show. All the stuff that I know about the lore of the world is stuff that I went to look for based on the comic book, because they don't go into any of that. They have some really interesting monsters. There's some really neat things, but it turns into this monster of the week, because the big bad von Richter is the Nazi scientist. They don't actually say he's a Nazi in the show because it's a kid show, but there's a lot of you can tell. You can just tell there's a lot of essence there, especially with the way Jose, the little kid who does goose steps everywhere and whatnot. But the design in the show I love. It looks amazing, and it had so much desire to be this really groundbreaking animation show. And I think in a way it kind of was, in the sense that it's it's very faintly stuck in the cultural zeitgeist of a lot of Canadian millennials, I think. A lot of people, if they don't remember all the details about it, they remember something about it. So there was obviously something that was very compelling for a lot of people, even people who are not fans of animation. Everyone's like, "Oh, the show! I remember that. I remember that show." But it wasn't given the opportunity to explore Cybersix as a character. It didn't go into her backstory at all. They very briefly touch on her backstory and why she drank the weird green vial in the first episode. On the last episode, for a fraction of a second, they vaguely called it sustenance, and she's like, "I need this to live. I need this to survive." But that's all they discussed about it, and most everything in the middle was her staving off these stupid weird creations. Now some of them were genuinely very kind of frightening and very interesting, but a lot of it was just her just fighting weird monsters and, kicking Jose's ass because he's such an annoying little kid. That we figured out our favorite episode was like, aside from the first one, which was, kind of setting what they wanted to be the tone of it. It was setting like our favorite episode was the second last episode where Jose is not in it at all. Von Richter sends like another creation at her who's actually pretty evenly matched in terms of like powers and ability, except she can turn invisible, so it created some interesting dynamics. And she wasn't, she didn't have any of the other side characters there with her at all. She was kind of forced to be separate, which made a very, very interesting like her panther, Data 7, her panther wasn't there, her friend Lucas, the blonde guy, wasn't there. It's like her colleague from work and also her weird love interest. None of them were involved in this altercation at all. So it was literally just her pinned against another creation, and it was like the weird tension between like, these are two creations made by the same guy, and it's like you're kind of like, one who's free and one who's kind of, realizing, why am I doing this? And it was so interesting, and it was one episode and it could have gone so much further, and there's just so much rich potential and lore in this IP that I'm almost desperate for someone to do something with it, to the point that like Colin is also desperate for it. He managed to go online and find the DVD. It was like, he's like, it's way too expensive, but I don't care. I need to buy this because there's like special features like or like a commentary or something that we're
Nice.
just like, we need extra content to figure out more about this. And I don't know if there's any more out there, but he was going down a rabbit hole. He's like, who owns the IP? I want to buy it. I want to buy this IP, make a production company, and we're going to do something with it. Because by God, it deserves it. Because it is so interesting. And I much prefer the design in the show, like in the cartoon, because, they've actually toned down how sexualized she is in the book.
More appealing design for sure.
Absolutely. And in the comic book, she's just naked all the time. She's always wandering around her apartment naked, so it's just gratuitous nudity. It's just full of 90s edge. It's really
yeah
90s edge left, right, and center. But I feel like it has so much potential. And even though because the two creators are no longer alive, both of them have passed away quite a number of years ago now. You could take the blueprints of what they've created and build up on it, and create a lot more interesting character conflict and character growth and development and backstory that is not really given in either medium. And because like, again, what most people find so compelling about this character is that like, we don't know who she is at all. There's no information about her. The show doesn't give any information about her. That she's Cybersix. She's an escaped experiment. She's living undercover as a man. Why? That doesn't go into that. Like, it doesn't go into how she got there at all. And that is such a fascinating concept, I think, to me. And we were also discussing it as like from like an LGBTQ perspective. It's like it has a vaguely queer quality about it because it's very gender queer. She's very masculine, even as like, she's got short hair, and the only thing that really distinguishes her from her male alter ego is the fact that she puts on lipstick and she wears her hair a different way, and she's wearing a skin tight catsuit. But she's able to pull off the very masculine, like she's, her voice is relatively low. She's, and she dresses as a male literature teacher. So that's really interesting to me. And there's a lot of things I think in this day and age that you could play with that, or that would, be an interesting conversation topic without beating you over the head with it. I think you don't see a lot of non-binary or genderqueer characters on television. We've kind of just broached into seeing more gay and lesbian characters. We've seen some transgender characters, but the concept of being, non-binary or gender non-conforming is not really something that's discussed often, unless it's in terms of like being a drag queen.
And I think in terms of approaching that, a medium like animation provides enough control that you can do it very subtly And with the
Yes.
right combination of good writing and, like you said, not beating viewers over the head with it,
Exactly.
then I think that you could probably make progress, for the lack of a better way to say that.
Yeah.
Because similar to the things that you and I have spoke to about the Dragon Prince, with like say two female queens, obviously partners, just being presented as the ruling, body of the adjoining kingdom without a second word or thought spent on it. Like that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Amaya and like all the different representation that's in Dragon Prince, but without any attention called to it other than just you going like, oh, cool. And that's it. Like it's presented as normal in the show, which it is and should be. And I think that, again, it works so well there because it's animation and they have that flexibility to get it just right. Just to hone it in a way that seems like it fits. And I think also too, like, not that it's necessarily a good thing, but having some sort of sci-fi or fantasy environment where things are, you have some more creative liberties than just like 2021 Earth. I think that
Hmm.
that also gives you some more creative avenues there as well.
Yeah.
Um, Before we move on and wrap things up, Shadow Raiders is the name of the cartoon that I could not remember for the life of me.
Yes.
The reason I keep on thinking planets is because it's based on the Trendmasters toy line War Planets very loosely. And depending on where you watched it, it was called Shadow Raiders, or it was called War Planets Shadow Raiders, or vice versa, depending on where it was airing. I also had a hard time finding it because it wasn't a Teletoon show. It was aired on YTV in Canada. That's why I couldn't find it
Ah, okay.
super, super fast.
Okay.
But it was made by Mainframe Entertainment, same people that made Reboot.
Yes.
And yeah, so all shows worth looking up. Depending on how old you are, they might seem very dated, or they might bring back a lot of nostalgia. It all depends on what side of 2000 you were born. Tip: I was not born on this side of 2000 by a long shot. Moving on into the Internet Minute, which is, of course, brought to you by you. The Citadel Cafe is 100% listener supported. If you're getting value out of the show, please consider putting a little bit of value back in. You can become a member at patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe. Joining at any level will get you an invite to the member-only Discord server, as well as access to things like bonus audio content. Last time I checked, there was about 14 bonus tracks that you can listen to via the Patreon page or via the Patreon RSS. If you just subscribe there, as a member, then you'll get the regular Citadel Cafe on your podcatcher app, along with automatically any additional content that myself or any of the hosts record. Patron count is at 21. Check that today. If you'd like to be 22, then check out patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe and join today. The pick this week should not be a surprise to anybody in the nerdy science community. The Perseverance rover has landed on Mars. I'll have a link to the site at mars.nasa.gov. And a link to the video of the mission overview as well, which I thought was pretty interesting. To make a quick summary, the Perseverance rover will search for signs of ancient microbial life, which will advance NASA's quest to explore the past habitability of Mars. I will not go on to read the whole thing, but there is a lot of information on this website. It is very, very cool. Lots of pictures from Mars. The things that I get kind of really nerdy about is the high quality images they're able to now send back, including video of like dust and sand and sunsets on Mars.
Yeah.
One of the most recent ones, which was really cool, was what nighttime looks like on Mars.
That's so cool.
Ridiculous. So
There's been some really amazing TikToks about it, and someone like re-upped an audio clip of like what the wind sounded like on Mars.
yep.
And I'll have to see if I can find it, but there was a really adorable video of a daughter filming her dad, because they're all working from home right now. Her dad was one of the scientists responsible for that, and his reaction to hearing that it actually made it, and he cheered and then started to sob
Yeah.
because he was just so excited. And I'll have to see if I can find it because it was so sweet. But it's exciting. It's really cool.
Yeah. They're getting really good at landing these rovers on Mars, and it becomes
Mhm.
the production value too of like the YouTube videos and the live coverage and stuff like that. It's really, really well done, and there's always someone there giving you the science and then someone else explaining it in kind of a little bit more general terms.
Yeah.
And they have some people that are, scientists at NASA that are also good television personalities for like YouTube and stuff like that. So it's an
Yeah.
easy watch. It's not boring in the slightest. The trick is just finding the time to be there live because it's very often kind of like middle of the workday kind of stuff. So people can't always tune in. But either way, we'll have links to the main page, YouTube videos and stuff in the show notes for this week. That wraps up this episode of the Citadel Cafe. You can get more information about the show and links to some of the things that Megan and I talked about at thecitadelcafe.com. Music for the show was composed by Kevin MacLeod. You can email us at thecitadelcafe@gmail.com or find us by name on Twitter. Subscribe for free on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and YouTube. And you know what? Word of mouth is the easiest way to support the show. You can just tell a friend about it. Tell them about the Citadel Cafe and where they can go to listen to it. The more people that listen, the better we do. My name is Joel Duggan. You can find everything I am up to online, including my illustration and design portfolio at joelduggan.com. You can find the other podcasts I do about Minecraft at thespawnchunks.com. There has been a metric ton of stuff happening with the snapshots lately, so you really want to check that out if you are at all into Minecraft, or if you know someone that is and you'd like to learn a little bit more about the game, check out thespawnchunks.com. You can follow me at Joel Duggan on social media and Joel Duggan on Twitch, where I'm building a medieval town in Minecraft. Megan, what have you been doing online lately?
I'm on Twitch as well at twitch.tv/OmeganTownsend. I'm also building in the medieval realm on the Citadel Minecraft server. Right now I'm doing a wizard tower, and we have a lot more builds planned for the future. But I'm a variety caster on there, so I do a bunch of different stuff, so there's something for everyone. But you can find me pretty much anywhere. Omegan Townsend is my username across all major social media, including TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.
You've been listening to the Citadel Cafe, where we are fast, easy, and cheap, but you can only pick two.